All right, so guys, I want to discuss the potential plan B that some of my more right-leaning fans and some people I've seen on social media discuss. Now, what I mean by the plan B is the idea that this is going to go to court and the election is going to be decided by the Supreme Court or by federal courts that basically by a certain time period in January. And it's going to be a long, drawn-out process, but basically it's going to come down to Congress picking the president. And because there are more, and I'm explaining something to the more left-leaning viewers here and subscribers and people who may not understand how the Constitution works. So if it comes down to a contested election, if it comes down to it, what's going to happen is it can go down to Congress picking the president and the Senate picking the vice president. That's how the distribution of power happens. That way, one side can't just get the whole White House if it comes down to this. So if it comes down to this, what's going to happen is because there are more Republican states, see, every state and territory gets a representative. And so fair or unfair, that's how it works because we are a representative type of, I would say, constitutional republic. We have representatives that come from every state and every territory. They represent that supposedly represent the will of the people, even though we look at people like Lindsey Graham, and it's not necessarily the case all the time, obviously. So with that being said, because there are more Republican states, the Republicans will get more votes, and they could just take the nuclear option, which means that if you ever heard that term, nuclear option means you simply have more votes than the other side, and you can just force them into whatever you want, into pretty much whatever you want them into. Like, for example, in the House, the Democrats have a nuclear option because they just simply outnumber the Republicans, and you can get a lot of Republicans with backroom deals to agree with you, so you can get a 2/3 type of majority there with any kind of vote. So that's what you would see here. You would have so many Republicans who, and if it comes down to this, I'm thinking that they would definitely do this, but it would be a big mistake because things would definitely go south in this country. You would see a civil war. I'm predicting, and you don't want to question me when it comes to predictions lately, man. I've been wrong maybe 2 out of 10 times. That's not a bad record. You don't want to do that because even people like me will look at that like, okay, Donald Trump is a freaking dictator now. Like everything that was said about him, like him being a fascist is true. You don't want to do that. You don't want to give people that kind of perception, right? You don't want to do that. So I think that this plan B, this trusted process thing, I heard the trusted process with the Philadelphia 76ers, the basketball team. And if you look up trusted process, Philadelphia 76ers, it didn't work out for them. I mean, it's not going to work out for Donald Trump here. Even if Congress does this, the Senate's going to pick somebody who is super, super duper left. And aside from that, that would cause chaos in this country. The Senate, even though it's dominated by Republicans, they would probably look at this as very, very bad. A lot of Republicans I'm talking to, they see it as very, very bad. But it's only like the hardcore MAGA folks who are pushing this stuff. And it's bizarre to me that, once again, like I tell you in so many videos, you got to read temperature of a room. If you're talking about civil war and trying to avoid that, trying to avoid social unrest, if you've been complaining about that for months and months and months and months and months, why in the world would you do something that you know is going to cause more social unrest and risk your cities being burned, everything else, innocent people being hurt, all because you want one guy in office that lost the election and the other guy won fair and square. All right, you can come at me with all the election hysteria and nonsense that you want to come at me with, but I'm just telling you the truth. Guys, you don't want to go this route. If you have any sense about you, if you love this country, if you love the Constitution, even though it's constitutional to do this, but if you love the spirit of it, spirit of fairness, if you like the will, if you want to follow the will of the people, if you want to not be seen as jackboots, because it's getting like that now. It's getting to that level. If you thought you were called Nazis before, let something like this happen. Oh, you're going to be seen as definitely Nazis. It's going to be Weimar America. If in case you don't know what Weimar Germany is, I would go look that up. Weimar Germany and see what's happening here. There's a lot of parallels. And that's what's starting to worry me. What you should not do, and the one thing is the one thing that I understand is the will to win. You want to win. And Donald Trump pushed the idea of winning. What you don't want to do is this idea of win at all costs. Because if you're going to win at all costs, you got to make sure the other people can't see you doing it. You can't make sure that people can't see behind the curtain. And right now, people can see behind the curtain because those people voted for the other guy. They can see behind the curtain. I can see behind the curtain now. So if you're banking on usurping the will of the people, well, the will of the people is going to come back on you. And that's not going to turn out well. So what I would suggest to Donald Trump is to simply concede. You can run again in 2024. Somebody else can. But for right now, to bring this country to unity, to bring people together, if you have an election result and you haven't proven massive voter fraud, you can file lawsuits all you want to, but filing a lawsuit does not prove anything. People file lawsuits. There's a guy, I can't remember like which year it was, but there's someone, I think it was in Louisiana, who sued God. You can file a lawsuit for anything. That doesn't prove anything. So, I'm telling you, things are hot right now. I understand a lot of people on the right, especially because I'm just telling you honest truth. The right, the left has a big problem with understanding people in rural communities. The right has a problem with understanding people with reading the temperature of a freaking room. You don't understand. And don't take this the wrong way. It's not everybody on the right, but a lot of people on the right have a problem with they are socially retarded, socially inept, socially ignorant. And in every other way, they can be intelligent people. When it comes to social issues, domestic issues, they can be completely brain dead. Some people. I'm not saying all, but some. And that's just in one arena. In every other way, they could be a very intelligent person, even smarter than me. But in that one arena, I mean, it's just baffling to me how some people think that Trump pulling an action like this, and the Republican Party pulling an action like this, and the Republican members of Congress pulling an action like this, and Republican representatives pulling an action like this, or the Senate pulling an action like this, it's going to turn out well, and people aren't going to see this as a fascist takeover, as Putin 2.0, as Putin in America, as Putin is stepping down for health reasons, but he's perfectly healthy in America. I want you to understand, there is a giant gate at Lafayette Square, right, that Trump had put up. You understand what's going to happen when Joe Biden gets to the White House? Because I don't think this whole lawsuit thing is going to go anywhere. I think it's going to be decided. I think the country's going to force the Republican Party to shut the hell up. I think I think Joe Biden is going to be your president. Okay? You understand that Joe Biden is going to give a speech at Lafayette Square. He's going to say something like, Mr. Trump, take down that gate at Lafayette Square. You understand that's going to be like a Gorbachev type moment, right? You do get that, right? You do get that, right? That's going to be... You remember that, right? Mr. Gorbachev, take down that wall. Well, Lafayette Square and that gate is right near the White House. And Joe Biden's already said he's going to have that taken down. The Biden campaign has already said that's coming down because there's a current lawsuit being pinned by a YouTuber by the name of Legal Eagle. All right. And he sued the White House because he was upset at what happened at Lafayette Square. And I was too. I thought that what happened there with Donald Trump was a bunch of bullshit. I mean, you had people there protesting. I understand that. But and he's like, well, there was violence the other night. Well, again, excuse me. Pardon me. First Amendment. All right. And second thing is, that is church grounds. Even if someone brought violence on church grounds, you don't initiate violence on church grounds. I don't care what side you're. Now, I'm criticizing the side that actually damaged that church. The same way, but the same way I criticize them, I don't want to see police on church grounds using violence. All right, I'm not even a Christian, but I'm saying that because I respect religion. That was some stormtrooper level bullshit. That does not need to ever happen again because that really pissed me off. Yo, I was already kind of jumping off. I was already jumping off the Trump train, throughout the years. But that was symbolic to me because I have a lot of respect for religion. And I was so upset that people had damaged that church I was upset at rioters and protesters. I was upset that church had got damaged. But when I see stormtroopers, road pirates, jackboots hurting people on church grounds and using, violence on church grounds, I don't care who started it. I don't care who ended it. Anybody who has violence on church grounds, you're disgusting. You're un-American. You're a goddamn authoritarian piece of trash. And I will treat you as such. That pissed me off. So when that YouTuber launched that lawsuit, I want you to understand Lafayette Square was a turning point for a lot of us on the right. It was a turning point for me. You want to know what ultimately changed me? You don't fuck with goddamn religion, okay? That's very important to me. That really upset me. That really got to me. I didn't like that at all. So, when Biden takes office and says, Mr. Trump, take down that gate. I mean, Donald Trump is not going to physically he's not going to physically take down that gate, but him saying that is going to be a symbolic gesture. It's going to be historic. It's going to go down in history books. The gate at Lafayette Square coming down. You understand that, right? So if you understand that, you understand what's going to happen if you try to get rid of that moment. Now that people know that moment's coming. It's not just a symbolic action of you trying to usurp the will of the people, but it's also usurp the imagery to come. The vice president, who is a woman of color, might not, they say black, Indian, whatever. She's a woman of color. That's what they call them these days. I don't see the person of color thing. I personally don't get down with that. Call me black, because that sounds too close to color people. All right. But that's a very historic moment. And you go try to get in the way of that. And you think that's not going to end up in a civil war and a bunch of people getting killed. It's just another instance where the right really has to do some soul searching and realize what you're suggesting and respect the will of the people and get with times. This exposes something else about the right that I've noticed, is that the right more so than the left uses courts as a weapon. And on the screen before you right now, I'm going to show this little clip, this little link. It's to the Brenda Bryant story. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Brenda Bryant, she had a daughter named Stephanie Bryant who was got raped and got an STD. Her daughter was she has a mental disability, and she has a mindset of a 7 to 10-year-old. She has an intellectual ability of an 8-year-old. Really, if you look at it on average. She's in South Carolina. This story happened in South Carolina. Well, Brenda, when she couldn't have charges pressed because the solicitor said that her daughter was a fully competent mentally disabled woman, even though she went to Lexington County Medical Center in South Carolina, and she had a rape kit done. The rape kit kind of showed, sexual assault here, and obviously the woman can't consent. And she was in an adult care facility, so how the hell did she get out to get raped in the first place? Well, they wouldn't press charges against the man who raped her daughter, and her daughter got an STD. For the rest of her life, a mentally disabled woman got an STD who in that adult care facility was receiving her social security money. So I paid my money for her to get raped. Yeah, so after the case was done, she took it up to the state Supreme Court in South Carolina. After she won the case, the court started retaliating against her, whereas she went from winning a Supreme Court case because the daughter got raped to she's now a fugitive. How the hell does that happen? Explain that one to me. I don't understand that one. That's bizarre to me. That's a weird way. It's kind of hard looking at the situation and tell me that there's no retaliation there. Okay? So you look at stuff like that. You look at people, them rushing to put Amy Coney Barrett on the goddamn Supreme Court. You look at some of the federal judges that's being put out there. You look at some of the retaliation that I receive, that several other people receive who speak out against these court systems. It's hard to tell me. It's hard to tell me that you aren't packing the courts just so you can get favorable outcomes, because now you rely on the courts so that you can steal the freaking election. So it's hard for me to take you seriously now. So you gotta change course on that. You gotta quit trying to stack things up to be so unfair in your favor while also complaining about how unfair the Democrats are. Because if both of you are gonna be unfair, I'm gonna go with the side who wants to legalize weed. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the side who's got what you got plus one. See, it just goes back to what I always tell you. You always have to make if even you have the right, for both the good and bad traits of the left tries to match the left. Like when the left has a bunch of black people speaking out, you try to go out and get some black mouthpieces, some Pekin Sambos, some Uncle Toms, Sambos. Okay, to speak out for us. When the left bring out the LGBT people, you try to go out and get some LGBT people, some trans people, some gay people to speak out for you at your freaking conventions. You try to get them to campaign for you. And then, when the left has Hispanics, what do? You know what you did. When the left try to push things into gaming, you get your YouTubers. You pay off YouTubers. And I know you do because I talked to a guy named Kirk Shelley. He's a Republican strategist. Yeah. You got to pay to be in that meeting. So don't tell me that they don't do that now. Because I know they do. Yeah. Well, whenever the left tries to do something, you try to match it. The problem is that you don't want to overtake them. You just want to match them. You just want to match their level of corruption when it comes to the courts. You don't want to be better. See, that's the problem when you're in a race. You always want to run side by side with somebody. So you hear Republicans always say, well, if Americans did a side by side comparison, I don't want to do a side by side. I don't want to do a side by side comparison because if I'm doing a side by side comparison, I'm always doing a comparison where you're on equal footing. I want a situation where you stand out no matter who else is against you. The only thing that you're standing out for right now is the idea that you're going to try to steal this election. And you don't want that perception because going forward, people aren't going to vote for you. In fact, if Donald Trump tries to do this, right, he might. Let's say we give you best case scenario that Plan B works, that the trust the process. The Philadelphia 76ers equivalent of the political realm. Let's say that I give you that, right? Let's say that this works out the way that you think is gonna work out. Okay. What do you think is gonna happen in 2024, 2028, 2032, 2036, 2040, 2044, 2048, 2052, 2056, 2060? You'll never win another goddamn general election. You lose the House and Senate, and then you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna sit back and clap and laugh because you deserve it. You deserve it. Because see, this kind of stuff worked back in the age where the internet did not exist, where people can't see the truth. But more and more, you're seeing people turn against this stuff, even Republicans. So you got to make some choices, some hard choices and decisions. Do you want to be seen as a party of dictators?